Today, basketball is one of the biggest sports in the world, and it's also one of the most diverse, with many African American players and other minorities. However, this wasn't always the case. Diversity in basketball traces back to a single moment in 1950, sparked by a player raised in an area where basketball culture had been growing for decades. This change took place in the DMV area, where basketball was already deeply integrated into the African American community, thanks to a man named Edwin Bancroft Henderson. Edwin, often regarded as the father of black basketball, introduced the sport to the DC area in the early 1900s and successfully established one of the earliest black basketball communities in the country, making the entire DMV area a hub for skilled basketball decades before integration. As basketball continued to grow within the African American community, integration in other professional sports began to take shape as well. Athletes like Jackie Robinson in baseball and Kenny Washington in football broke seemingly indestructible barriers in their respective sports. These breakthrough moments helped to shift public perception and made it increasingly difficult for other leagues to justify segregation. And now, just like Robinson, it was basketball's turn to step to the plate. In 1948, Don Barksdale competed in the Olympic Games, becoming the first black basketball player to compete on the most prestigious international stage. His success gave the United States a glimpse of the talent that African American players possessed, as he went on to win a gold medal with the United States team. Beyond individual athletes, all black basketball teams were proving their merit as well. When the all-black Harlem Globetrotters defeated the defending champions of the National Basketball League, the Minneapolis Lakers, it became clear to the American public that African American teams had the talent and the ability to play at the professional level. In 1950, professional basketball reached a turning point. The Basketball Association of America and the National Basketball League merged to form the National Basketball Association. At the time, the National Basketball League had already shown a willingness to sign non-white athletes, and this carried over to the newly formed NBA. In the 1950-51 NBA season, Earl Lloyd, an African American and product of the DMV basketball community, was signed by the Washington Capitals, an NBA team based in Washington, D.C. Lloyd was the first African American to play in an NBA game, and this was where the efforts in the last half-century towards integration converged, creating momentum for the next half-century of progressive reform. Earl Lloyd himself recognized the challenges he had overcome and the prejudice he faced along the way, speaking on it during an interview in 2010.
When I went to my first training camp with the Washington Capitals, and you've been treated like a fourth-class citizen all your life, and the fact that you might be a little inferior, because when they finish reassuring you about your worth, and you get on the city bus and it sees a sign that says for colored, so it kind of tatters those edges of them telling you about your self-worth.
Earl Lloyd's first game started a major shift in American sports by breaking the racial barrier in the NBA. The decision sparked strong public reactions in the DMV and increased recognition of African American athletes, leading to the desegregation of collegiate basketball in the region. Eventually, this revolution would go on to reshape media representation of black athletes, influence civil rights activism, and transform the racial makeup of the entire NBA. The immediate reaction to the destruction of the color barrier was deeply divided. Earl Lloyd and early black athletes in the NBA faced constant scorn, ridicule, and disrespect from white spectators. Several examples of the extreme hostility they faced include the blatant disrespect of being spat on, the destruction of personal property, and the segregation of utilities during away games. At the same time, the reaction through media outlets was much more inclusive. Before Earl Lloyd, recognition of African American athletes in the basketball world from white-owned media was rare. But that changed when white-owned newspapers like the Evening Star took steps towards equality, giving credit and recognition to the impressive achievements of athletes like Don Barksdale. Over the next few years, black representation in white-owned media became more common as the league continued to integrate. On the other hand, black-owned newspapers consistently demonstrated unwavering support for their peers' success, acknowledging and promoting the achievements of those who represented them at the professional level. Newspapers celebrated players such as Elgin Baylor, highlighting his performance during the 1962 season and comparing his statistics with those of prominent white athletes such as Jerry West. In the commercial and professional context, the reaction wasn't as immediate, and equality fell behind integration. Black athletes were consistently treated as second-class citizens and faced derision from companies and editorials. Bill Russell describes one of his experiences with discrimination in a professional setting in a 2013 interview.
See, my whole thing was I found out that in order to get any recognition, I would have to change my complexion. The writers, or the media, whatever you call it, picked me second team all league. So I think I'm still the only guy that ever got the MVP and be second team all league.
Russell, in a separate interview, mentions the discrimination African American athletes faced in commercial media as well, where it was not uncommon for a player to be denied sponsorship and advertising opportunities, an issue that persisted long after integration was achieved. Undeterred by the public's hostile reaction, reforms and changes continued to make headway. During the 1950s, African American basketball players began receiving greater financial compensation and recognition than ever before. In fact, Don Barksdale was the highest paid athlete in the Baltimore area at the time, illustrating how integration was beginning to expand economic opportunities for black athletes. This change in recognition, though, extended even beyond the NBA. As black athletes made their mark at the highest level, collegiate leagues faced growing pressure to reconsider their own past exclusionary policies. Areas with successfully integrated professional teams faced additional pressure, lacking any justifiable reason to keep the team segregated any longer. As a result, in the early 1950s, colleges in and around the DMV began to desegregate their basketball programs, leading to some of the first interracial collegiate games in the region. An early example of this was at the University of Maryland and the Atlantic Coast Conference, or the ACC, where Billy Jones, an African-American power forward, became the first black player to earn a basketball scholarship and play in the ACC. In tandem with these reforms, Jim Crow laws, discrimination, and blatant racism still ran rampant throughout America. Just as professional integration pressured colleges to desegregate, the success of black athletes also challenged the logic of Jim Crow segregation and strengthened the attack against it. Over 50 years after Earl Lloyd's first game, the results of combined efforts towards integration are apparent. This image of the Washington Wizards NBA team roster represents the makeup of the current NBA, a stark contrast from the league during Earl Lloyd's time. What started as a single breakthrough moment in 1950 had transformed the league into one of the most diverse sports organizations in the entire world. By the late 1960s, athletes such as Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell were no longer just accepted within basketball, but celebrated. Their prominence allowed them to engage directly with ongoing civil rights movement, adding powerful influence and voice to the cause. Bill Russell, in particular, spoke openly about racism in America and supported civil rights efforts, illustrating how sports could serve as a platform for broader social change. The influence of integrated basketball also extended into everyday social life. Figures like Don Barksdale used their status to challenge segregation in America, opening high-profile venues that welcomed black artists such as Nat King Cole and their audiences at a time when many public spaces remained segregated, helping to elevate the status of black artists and contributing to gradual shifts in social norms. Although racial inequality did not fully disappear and still exists today, the long-term legacy of Earl Lloyd's breakthrough moment was clear. Professional basketball had become a space where segregation would no longer be tolerated, and where African American success was not only permitted, but essential to the sport itself. 70 years after Earl Lloyd's debut, professional basketball in the NBA stands as one of the most diverse sports in the world. Lloyd's and other players' presence in the league challenged the logic of segregation and paved the way for changes in collegiate sports and media representation, reshaping the social fabric of the entire country.